Marcus Brennan loosened his tie as he walked through Riverside Park, grateful for these quiet autumn evenings with his daughter. The golden light filtered through the trees, painting everything in shades of amber and gold. His 4-year-old daughter, Emma, skipped ahead of him, her pink dress swirling as she chased falling leaves. It had been 18 months since his wife Victoria passed away after a long battle with illness. 18 months of learning to be both mother and father, of stumbling through bedtime routines and bad dreams, of trying to fill a void that could never truly be filled. Marcus had thrown himself into his work at Brennan Technologies, building the company into something even bigger than before. Some said he was running from grief. Maybe they were right. But someone had to provide for Emma, to secure her future, to make sure she never wanted for anything except the one thing he couldn't give her, her mother. "Daddy, look." Emma's excited voice pulled him from his thoughts. She was crouched beside a park bench, talking animatedly to a young woman sitting there. Marcus's first instinct was protective. He quickened his pace, ready to pull Emma away from this stranger. But as he got closer, something made him pause. The woman was in her late 20s, dressed simply in worn jeans and a cream-colored sweater. Her blonde hair caught the evening light, and there was something gentle in the way she was listening to Emma's chatter, really listening, as if his daughter's words about her stuffed bunny were the most important thing in the world. "And his name is Mr. Hops," Emma was saying, holding up the small white rabbit toy that went everywhere with her. "Because he likes to hop, hop, hop." "Mr. Hops is a wonderful name," the woman said with genuine warmth. "Does he help you feel brave when you're scared?" Emma nodded solemnly. "Especially at night. Mommy gave him to me before she went to heaven." Marcus saw the woman's expression shift, a flicker of recognition and deep sadness crossing her features. She looked up and met his eyes, and in that moment, Marcus felt like he'd been struck by lightning. He knew her. Not well, but he knew her face. From the hospital, from those final months when Victoria had needed round-the-clock care, this woman had been one of the nurses, one of the many medical professionals who had moved through their lives during that terrible time. "I'm sorry," Marcus said, moving forward and placing a protective hand on Emma's shoulder. "Emma, you shouldn't bother people." "She's not bothering me at all," the woman said quickly, standing. Her voice was soft but steady. "I'm Rebecca." Rebecca Cross. The name clicked into place. Rebecca. The night nurse who had stayed late so many times, who had held Victoria's hand during the worst moments, who had somehow made those sterile hospital rooms feel a little less frightening. "I remember you," Marcus said quietly. "You were my wife's nurse." Rebecca nodded, her eyes shimmering with emotion. "Victoria was one of the most remarkable people I've ever cared for. She talked about you and Emma constantly. She made me promise something actually in those last weeks." Marcus felt his throat tighten. "What did she promise?" "That if I ever saw Emma, I should tell her how much her mother loved her. How Victoria's last thoughts were about making sure Emma knew she was loved beyond measure." Emma tugged on Rebecca's sweater. "You knew my mommy?" Rebecca knelt down to Emma's level, her voice gentle. "I did, sweetheart. And she was beautiful, just like you. She told me that you were the brightest light in her life, and that she hoped you would grow up to be kind and brave." Emma's little face scrunched up thoughtfully. "I try to be brave, but sometimes I'm scared." "That's okay," Rebecca said. "Being brave doesn't mean you're never scared. It means you keep going even when you are scared. Your mommy was the bravest person I ever met." Marcus blinked back tears. This stranger, this nurse from the worst chapter of his life, was giving his daughter something precious. A connection to the mother she was slowly forgetting. "I don't mean to intrude on your evening," Rebecca said, standing again and addressing Marcus. "I come here sometimes after work. It's peaceful." "Where do you work now?" Marcus asked, curiosity and something else, something like concern stirring in him. Rebecca's clothes were worn, and there was a tiredness in her eyes that spoke of more than just a long day. "I'm between positions right now," Rebecca said, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. "I had to leave the hospital a few months ago. My mother got sick, and I needed to care for her full time. She passed away 6 weeks ago, and I've been looking for work since then." "I'm sorry for your loss," Marcus said, and he meant it deeply. Thank you, Rebecca replied. It's been difficult, but I'm managing. The hardest part is that I miss nursing. I miss being able to help people. Emma, who had been listening with the earnest attention children sometimes surprise you with, suddenly grabbed Rebecca's hand. You should come have dinner with us. Daddy always makes too much food and you look hungry. Emma, Marcus started, but Rebecca's eyes had filled with tears. That's very sweet of you, Rebecca said to Emma, but I couldn't impose. Marcus looked at this woman who had cared for his wife with such tenderness, who had just given his daughter a gift beyond price and made a decision. Please, he said. It would be our honor. It's just spaghetti, nothing fancy, but there's plenty, and I think Victoria would want us to share a meal with someone who meant so much during those final days. Rebecca hesitated, pride and hunger warring in her expression. Finally, she nodded. Thank you. That would be lovely. Over dinner in Marcus's elegant but warmly decorated home, the stories came out. Rebecca told them about her mother's battle with Alzheimer's, about the savings she'd depleted caring for her, about the job applications that kept getting rejected because of the gap in her employment. The irony is, Rebecca said with a sad laugh, I left nursing to care for my mother and now I can't get back into it because I left. Meanwhile, I'm living in a week-to-week rental, using the last of my savings. Marcus listened, his mind already working through possibilities. Emma had fallen asleep with her head on Rebecca's lap, something she rarely did with anyone outside of family. What if I told you I might be able to help? Marcus said. Rebecca looked up sharply. I'm not asking for charity, Marcus. I just wanted to keep my promise to Victoria. It's not charity, Marcus assured her. Brennan Technologies has an employee health and wellness program. We've been looking for a coordinator, someone with medical training who can manage health screenings, workplace safety, employee wellness initiatives. The pay is competitive and it comes with full benefits. Marcus, I can't. You can, he interrupted gently. You're qualified, you're compassionate, and frankly, you'd be doing me a favor. Our last coordinator didn't understand the human element. You do. That's invaluable. Over the next few weeks, Rebecca started her new position. But more than that, she became woven into the fabric of Marcus and Emma's life. She would stop by on weekends, helping Emma with art projects or reading stories. She never tried to replace Victoria. That would be impossible and wrong. But she offered something else, continuity, a living connection to the mother Emma was too young to fully remember. Rebecca would share stories about Victoria, small memories that Marcus had forgotten or never known. How Victoria had loved terrible puns and would make the nurses laugh even on her hardest days. How she'd kept a journal for Emma, writing letters for all the milestones she knew she'd miss. There's something I need to give you, Rebecca said one evening, 6 months after that first meeting in the park. She pulled out a small journal, its cover worn and covered with Victoria's handwriting. Victoria made me promise to keep this safe and give it to Emma when the time was right. I think that time is now. Marcus took the journal with trembling hands. Inside were letters, dozens of them, each marked with a future date. For Emma's first day of school. For Emma's 16th birthday. For Emma's wedding day. She wrote them in the last month, Rebecca explained softly, when she knew she was running out of time. She wanted Emma to hear her voice throughout her life, to know that her mother was always with her. Marcus couldn't speak. He just pulled Rebecca into a fierce hug, this woman who had carried such a precious burden for so long, who had honored her promise to his dying wife. A year later, Marcus and Rebecca were married in a small ceremony in the same park where they'd reunited. Emma was the flower girl, carrying Mr. Hops in one hand and a photo of Victoria in the other, because they all agreed that Victoria should be there too, in spirit. Rebecca never tried to erase Victoria's memory. Instead, she helped keep it alive, telling stories, looking through photo albums, making sure Emma knew the mother she'd lost. And in doing so, she created space for new love, new memories, a new chapter that honored the past while embracing the future. The journal Victoria left became a treasured part of their family tradition. On special occasions, they would open it together, reading Victoria's words, crying and laughing and remembering. And through it all, Rebecca was there. Not as a replacement, but as a bridge between past and present, between loss and healing. Sometimes the greatest gifts come from keeping promises to those we've lost. Sometimes healing begins in the most unexpected places. A chance meeting in a park, a child's innocent invitation, a nurse who remembered her patient's final wish. And sometimes, when we open our hearts to help others, we discover that we're the ones being saved. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that love can grow in unexpected places while honoring the past, please like, share, and subscribe for more stories about healing, remembrance, and second chances. Comment below about someone who helped you through a difficult time or about how you've kept the memory of a loved one alive. Your story might bring comfort to someone who needs it today.